Hello guys, my name is Shubham Kirme. So today our video name is the methods in JPA in the spring. So let's see that. By uh, in our the today's bio topic covers the Spring Data JPA repository query and the methods containing the JPA. So let's learn about the writing the query methods and how the Spring resolves that query methods into the actual SQL statements. So in our the today's topic that contains the access the using the already understand the Java and the Spring JPA and the Spring Boot, and it doesn't cover the setup using the data source configuration and the dependency management. So let's say that if you want to use the Spring Data JPA in a Spring Boot project, and you can read the Spring Boot and the Spring Data JPA. So let's take an overview about that. The repository interface defines the query methods, and a repository interface is a Java interface, and it directly by indirectly extended from the Spring Data and the Spring Data framework by using the Spring repository. And with this is a market interface, and the Spring Data provides the predefined interfaces like the CRUD repository or the paging and the sorting repository. So both of them are the sub interfaces of the repository. So there are the few predefined methods in the repository interface. The most important thing is that the method names have to follow the standard structure, and if the Spring will use it to derive low level SQL queries. And so let's look at the both CRUD repository and the paging and the sorting repository. So the method names are the CRUD repository. As the name denotes that the CRUD repository defines the source, the CRUD methods. So let's have to work about the CRUD repository. So look at the interface definition. It needs to know about the entry bin and of the field ID, and to provide the specific methods. The first one method is that the save, that it contains the pass an entity pass an entity bin on the subclass to entry bin, and it will be preserved. The preserved entity will be ensured, and any of the auto-generated field or the default fields will be initialized, and it returned to with the entity. So the second one is that the method name is the save all. So pass and the iterable of the entities, and it will be saved. And the third one is that the find by ID. Pass the ID field, and matching the entity will be returned. It returns and the entity wrapped in an optional object. And the third one is that the exist by ID. It checks the given ID exists from the table and returns to the user. The fourth one is that the find all. So this returns all the entities from the table, and the find all by ID. So it iterable from the entities that match with the given ID and the count of the entities. The another one is that the delete by ID. Find an entity by the given and delete from the delete, and find an entity matching with the given entity and the delete all. If we will given the all the iterable of entities, all those entities are removed. If called without any argument, all the entities and are deleted. So now the paging and sorting repository. So it is a sub interface of the CRUD repository. It has the two additional program mention and the sorting methods and the inter methods from the super interfaces. So find all. So find and returns the iterable of the all entities in an order defined by the given sort object, and the find all is the pageable and where. So it returns the sequential subset of the matching results, which is called the page. So using Spring the data repository, the Spring data repository, we need to know the entity and the ID fields. So they will deal this information provides as a repository declaration. Usually, each entity will have the dedicated repository. So at the repository, the public interface docs repository extends the CRUD repository. So that the doc will repository using the first by age and it int age. So in the code language of Java, and what happens here. So the Spring knows about the dog, and if a dog is the entity. Spring knows about the dog is the entity, and the long is the type of the primary. So it is key. So the docs repository inherits all the methods from the current repository, and additionally it defines the custom query methods. So find all and first by age. At the repository annotation, it is a repository. So the Spring provides the proxy implementation of the docs repository, and all of it's for the methods, including the first distinct and the first by age. So how does the Spring provide an implementation for the custom query methods? So we will learn now the Spring passes the query methods. So names into the SQL queries in the query methods to SQL queries. So the restrict repository methods. So as per the Java, the inheritance policy, the sub interface inherits all the methods from the super interface. So for example, what do get repository extends the find the CRUD repository. So it gets all the methods. So we will save earlier. So in some cases we may not want to expose all of those methods in our repository. So that's all about the overall information about the methods in JPA. Thank you guys.